Hey, what's going on, fam? So another quick video. I want to make a video about Jay Morrison and his recent comments about reparations that have been talked about the last couple of days. And the reason why I want to talk about it is because Jay Morrison's comments on reparations are particularly foolish and wrong-headed and dangerous, almost to a degree. And one of the main reasons why I want to talk about it is because his argument is an argument that has been around for a while, that has already been proven over and on multiple occasions to be ineffective and not work. And I'm going to break that down in this video. And also, I want to forewarn what I believe some of the motivations may be behind Mr. Jay Morrison's words about reparations, because I feel that the dude has a very, I don't want to say he's a full outright scammer, because I don't have proof that he is a full outright scammer. But some of the things he does come off very scamish and come off as if he is a scammer. And I believe that's also tied into his comments about reparations. So first, let me give a little background on Mr. Jay Morrison, just in case some of you don't quite know who he is. So Mr. Jay Morrison is a self-proclaimed real estate guru slash activist who calls himself the son of Malcolm or young Malcolm, whatever he calls himself. Yeah, young Malcolm. Um, I guess he's trying to make himself a modern day Malcolm X, even though he's already older right now than Malcolm X was when he died. So I don't know how he's a young Malcolm, but he calls himself a young Malcolm. And he's also, like I said, this real estate guru who goes around teaching corner classes on the street, teaching black people how to invest in real estate and buy real estate and all this stuff, blah, 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 right? So that's who, and also through Mr. Jay Morrison's corner classes and his activism, he's been able to connect with and build relationships with celebrities, like particularly and mostly rappers like T.I., Killer Mike, Atlanta-based rappers, because Mr. Jay Morrison is based out of Atlanta, so he has connections with these kind of people, and that has also helped to elevate his profile, because when you know these people, you get to be seen with them, and that raises your profile right there when you're standing on a stage with Ti and Ti is co-signing you and co-signing what you're saying and all of that stuff. So that's who Mr. Jay Morrison is. Now let's talk about what Mr. Jay Morrison said. Mr. Jay Morrison said that he's for reparations. Let me make that clear. First of all, he claims that he's for reparations, but his belief is that the U.S. will never give reparations, which could be true. I'm not delusional about that. The U.S. may never give reparations, but if they don't, our plan, or at least my plan as being a part of ADOS, is that, well, then we'll just let Republicans and racists get elected until this country goes to hell. That's the alternative. Either U.S. you give reparations or you go to hell, because we already see Trump is on the way to destroying this country, and if we keep allowing these white supremacists to have their way, they're just going to vote more and more rabid white supremacists in office until they destroy the country, because white supremacy is it's a time bomb. It's been going on for a long time, I'll admit that, but it's a time bomb. It's meant to self-destruct sooner rather than later, especially at this point. But anyway, back to what Mr. Jay Morrison was saying about reparations. Hey, we can't get it because the U.S. will never give reparations, and what we need to do is we need to go to the World Court. We need to go to the World Court and make our case for reparations. Now, let me already go ahead and debunk that off top. What I'm going to do is I'm going to provide this link in the description box, but I'm going to read an article showing how that has already been done. Very recently, actually, in the past few years. So this article is called Challenges Facing Reparations Requests by the Caribbean Countries and by Caribbean. No, let me back up. So I got tongue tied there. Challenges Facing Reparations Requests by Caribbean Countries. That's the name of the article, and it's been put out by Utica College of Public Affairs and Election Research. So this is a college in the U.S. that put out a article about reparations. A college, their Center of Public Affairs and Election Research. So this is a research department at a university that has put this out. So this is a pretty credible source, because obviously universities research elements of universities. That's all they do is they do their data, they do their research before they talk about stuff, right? And so I'm going to skip over part of the article, but like I said, I'm going to provide the link in the description box in case anybody thinks I was hiding something. But I'm going to focus on a part that's important to me. All right? So, and the part that I'm talking about in this video that basically just destroys that whole argument. So, the Caribbean countries pushed for reparations again in 2014. And again, I skipped the part, so I skipped the first part because it's just prelude babble that I don't really feel is relevant to the point I'm trying to make. But the Caribbean countries pushed for reparations again in 2014 after limited response from the international community. So meaning that they already have pushed for reparations before this, right? CARICOM and Lee Day applied political pressure, and this is CARICOM who was suing for reparations with the United Nations and the U.S. World Court. And Lee Day is the law firm that was representing the Caribbean countries, which was representing CARICOM. Caribbean countries sought to utilize reparations for the development of better educational and health programs and to preserve history of slavery. The UK was the only government to respond. So let's stop right there. So they've already put out a lawsuit so if you get sued, you have to respond. Otherwise, it's just going to be ruled against you. Or if it's like a criminal case, they'll just put out a warrant for your arrest. But in the World Court, they can put out a lawsuit and the nations don't even have to respond. That already right there tells you how little power the UN has. Instead of reparations, the UK said, okay, wait, the UK was the only government to respond. Again, only government to even respond. Instead of reparations, the UK said we should concentrate on identifying ways forward with a focus on the shared global challenges that face our countries in the 21st century. So again, we're not going to do anything. We're just going to focus on our challenges together, which means we're not going to give you reparations. We're just going to talk around it. Fuck that. Excuse my language, but that's basically what they said. In 2017, CARICOM sent letters requesting payments from France, Britain, the Netherlands, as well as Portugal, Spain, Norway, and Sweden. Caribbean countries also requested an apology from respective leaders. The UK responded by increasing investments in the region, but not directly addressing the reparations. Again, they're not going to do anything about it. They're basically saying, no, fuck you, we're not giving you reparations, do something about it. Under the judgment of the World Court, in a World Court case. The UK spent £300 million, US equivalent of 387 million, in infrastructure development in the Caribbean, through what is known as the UK Caribbean Infrastructure Partnership. The UK also spent 60 million in improving healthcare and enhanced structural resistance to tropical storms. Though robust, these actions do not directly address reparations. Again, because they're not reparations, they're just a little throwaway money that they give as foreign aid anyway, that they've already budgeted to give away as foreign aid, as a little bit of a kickback, crumbs off the table off all the wealth they steal from Caribbean and African countries. But this is what Jay Morrison is advocating for us to go to the World Court. Caribbean countries have been hampered by the ICJ's jurisdiction. Again, the ICJ is the International Criminal Court. This is the UN World Court that Jay Morrison was suggesting that we go to and bring our case for reparations, which only goes so far as the UN members allow, meaning that the countries in the UN control the UN. The UN is made up of countries that control the UN. So you're basically going to the World Court is basically going to the US and Europe asking for reparations, which is the same thing that Jay Morrison just said. The US will never give us reparations, so that's why we can't go to the US for reparations. Yet you think that you're going to go to the World Court where an arbitrary representative of the U.S. can just say no. At least the way ADOS is doing it, we're bringing it up for a national vote, a national referendum that the government has to pass. The government cannot go against its own ruling. So if we're never going to get reparations from the U.S., going to the UN is just as pointless, if not more pointless, than going about it the way the ADOS movement is going about it because you give more power to the representative of the U.S. to just say no instead of putting it up and putting political pressure on a candidate who has to pass it in order to keep their place in office or keep their position in government. Versus somebody who can just say no, kick rocks. This is why this is absolutely foolish. I'm going to go back and read it again. Caribbean countries have been hampered by the ICJ's jurisdiction, which only goes so far as the UN members allow. The UK does not recognize ICJ jurisdiction in disputes prior to 1974. So let's stop right there. Not only do they decide whether or not they say yes to reparations, the U.S. and Europe, who are also obviously going to side with the U.S., because they owe reparations to the Caribbean countries. So they're going to side with the U.S. in saying no so that they don't have to turn around and pay reparations to Caribbean countries or look like hypocrites. And then half these countries don't even recognize their rulings prior to certain days. They can say, well, yeah, we recognize your jurisdiction, but we don't recognize it prior to 1970. Which a lot of the case for reparations occurred well before 1970, if not the majority of the case for reparations. Yet countries can say, well, after 1985, we only recognize crimes committed after 1985. Or we only will respect your rulings about things that happened after 1985. Then under these countries' own legal books, there's an open door for them to reject reparations by their own policy. Oh my goodness. But anyway, the Netherlands does not recognize ICJ judgments on disputes prior to 1921. France does not recognize the ICJ rulings as compulsory at all, meaning that they don't have to listen to them, period. The other countries said, okay, we'll recognize your rulings up to a certain date that we set, an arbitrary date that we set. But then other countries can say, look, we don't have to listen to nothing y'all rule. And that's all I wanted to read from this article. But these 3-4 paragraphs that I just read from this article alone by themselves prove the foolishness of Jay Morrison's reparations argument. Now let me go a little bit further when I've been saying it's been going on for a long time. Because Jay Morrison started to continue to babble about how he got this from NCOBRA, who's a fraudulent organization, and it further proves that they're a fraudulent organization if this is the kind of advice they're giving. I just totally debunked that. But what's been going on is that people have been making this argument for a long time. Black people have been going on with something called the Moorish science movement, where they sit up there and they sell you these packets and these packages on getting your citizenship or claiming your nationality as a member of the Moorish nation. They've been doing this for decades. And they've even tried to take this stuff into like traffic court to say, hey, I don't have to pay this speeding ticket because I'm not under the jurisdiction of the U.S. because I've claimed a legal nationality. And they get laughed out of court and they have to pay the tickets or go to jail anyway. This has never worked. I just illustrated in this article with CARICOM how it's never worked. All you have to do is look up the history of the Moorish Science Temple and not really the history, because you might get a bunch of stuff about Noble Drew Ali, but look up some of the results of their nationality claims. It's a clown show, it's a joke, and it's mostly used as a scam to get other black people who are looking for a way out of white supremacy and don't know any better. So they're vulnerable to a scam of pay me $20, pay me $30, pay me $40, and I'll get you more citizenship, and then you have this whole new set of laws that you're bound to, and also you can use this as a claim for reparations, which is total nonsense and foolishness. And again, this is why I'm so ashamed of the Pan-Africans who I used to be a member of or who I used to feel a kinship with, because they're running around backing NCOBRA, giving NCOBRA legitimacy because that's the only alternative they can offer to ADOS. And at every turn, NCOBRA proves that they're illegitimate because look at the advice they're giving to people like Jay Morrison, because that's who Jay Morrison claims he got his information from, is NCOBRA. Pushing these Moorish scams that you see on the street corners and in Sinetter debates. Pushing scams and hustles. And again, this is why I went back and went went in on Polite and these other people, any black person in the black community. Because some of the people who push this nationality scam aren't Moors, or they don't call themselves Moors. There's people like Polite. There's people like Red Pill, Blue Pill, who are out here or who have in the past been out here pushing this nationality Moorish paperwork scam that means nothing. Because that paperwork, you have to have a military and a nation to back any paperwork, nationality, citizenship, rights paperwork that you claim you have. If you don't have a military and a government backing those rights, they mean nothing. I don't care if it was an old law written 2,500 years ago, 500 years ago, 50 years ago. It doesn't matter. If it's not backed or recognized by any government or military, it is meaningless. So I say that to say, any black person who's out here pushing this nationality scam, most times, 9 times out of 10, they're pushing it so that they can get you to give them some paper for some kind of nationality paperwork, so they can give you a whole packet full of bullshit paperwork that means nothing and will do nothing for you, will do nothing to change your life, will give you no benefits, will produce nothing for you. You're paying somebody to give you documents that mean nothing. It's like me paying somebody documents that state I'm the president of the earth. They mean nothing. They have no power. But if it makes you feel good, hey, I guess there's somebody out there that will sell you some paperwork that makes you feel like you're the president of the earth. It's total nonsense. And again, that's what I want to also say about Jay Morrison. This is why I feel like he's also bringing this up. Is because he wants to be able to flip it into a scam so that he can say, hey, now that I've established that we need to get our nationality, everybody come to me, Jay Morrison, or come to my Moorish homeboy or my whatever homeboy, my nationality expert, who's going to give you everything you need for just $200. $200, and you got nationality, and you'll be entitled to reparations for just $200. Right here on sale, because once everybody hears about this, the price will go up to its normal price of $1,000. But I'm giving y'all a special discount for $200. That's what most likely is going to be. And that's the last thing I want to say, because like I said, Jay Morrison has a history of scam me or scamish type things. So I want to start to wrap up this video with just a few things from the SEC filing on Jay Morrison's, or the SEC investigation, or whatever it is, on Jay Morrison's TREF fund, Tulsa Real Estate Fund. Some of the scammy, like I said, I don't know if this dude is a 100% scammer, but this is some of the scammy things that the SEC has pointed out to him that he needs to fix in his Tulsa Real Estate Fund documents. So basically, he says, one of the parts that they complain about is, we note that Section 1.7 of the subscription agreement as filed in Exhibit 4 requires each subscriber to represent that it has read and evaluated or employed the services of an investment advisor, attorney, or accountant to read and evaluate all of the documents furnished and made available by the issuer to the subscriber. And hold one moment, I got distracted there. Sorry. Somebody sent me a text while I was making a video. It is inappropriate to require investors to represent the... Sorry, I got distracted there. Anyway, it is inappropriate to require investors to represent that they have read or reviewed the offering materials. Please revise your subscription agreement to remove this representation. So basically, what he's saying is, before you invest in his fund, you have to have an attorney or an accountant or a professional investment advisor sit down and read everything for you before you invest in this. Why is that? Why is this language in here? Because Jay Morrison has filled his Tulsa Real Estate Fund documentation that people have to agree to before they invest in his fund, to basically make it sue-proof. Because he knows that this, or most likely he knows, let me not say that he knows, but most likely he went into this, built this fund with the intention of it failing, with the intention of pocketing all the money, getting a huge bag for himself, and then being able to say to everybody, hey, I tried and it just didn't work out. Sorry, you lost your money. That's why he's filled it with documents saying, hey, you not only did you agree to do this, but you sat down with an attorney, right? And they still told you to do it, or at least that's what you had to sign in this agreement. And that's what the SEC is saying is wrong, because that you can't do that. You can't make somebody sign something saying that they've sat down with an attorney and done all this stuff before they agree to do business with you. Because all it is a way for you to say, well, here, you signed this document saying you sat with an attorney. So you can't say I'm a scam now because you signed this document. And an attorney read this with you, right? So you have no case because you went to an attorney, you did all your due diligence, and the scam still failed. Or if you did sit down with an attorney, they probably told you, or an accountant or an investment advisor, they probably told you not to do it, but you still did it anyway, right? That's what this is about. Knowing that 9 times out of 10, people are not going to go out their way and get a lawyer and pay a lawyer 20, 30, 300, $400 an hour, or an accountant or an investment advisor, just for them to read this document when this was a relatively low-cost investment compared to what most people, black people, can afford in this nation. It's not a significant investment. It's a low-cost investment that's supposed to return 10x returns and all this stuff. And it's full of this kind of language. And what I'm probably going to do is I'm also going to provide a link to the tweets from Yvette Carnell, because she furnished this documents that I'm reading from. But basically, it's full of language that basically, and read the parts that she redlined and underlined, because it's basically full of things that Jay Morrison is doing to basically make himself scam proof. I don't want to make this video too long, that's why I'm not going to read through the whole argument. I just wanted to provide an example, because the point is that this dude has a bunch of scammy elements around him. He's starting to push this nationality scam, which 9 times out of 10, or this nationality babble, which 9 times out of 10 leads to a scam. And then also when you look at his Tulsa real estate documents, they also look like a scam. Because everything in the document is basically, understand that when you lose your money, you can't sue me. That's basically the long story short of his documents. When you cut through all the legalese and all of that stuff, basically the document says, understand that when you give me this money, you're not getting it back. Understand that this is my money that you're giving to me now, with the fantasy that it may have returns for you, but we both know it's not. So when you get upset that it's not going to return any money for you, I want you to know that you can't sue me. You can't come after me legally for this money, because I put all this language in here that says that you were fully aware that you were going to lose all your money. And you went through every legal step and process to be fully aware that you were going to lose your money before you gave it to me. That's basically what it is. I hate to say it, but that's what it is. And I challenge somebody to disprove me. I want somebody to show me, come show me some returns that people have received. Please. Come back to me in 5 years and show what some people have returned. Because that's people, well, it ain't returned yet, but it's gonna. Well, okay, fine. Well, come back to me in 5 years and tell me what it's returned, because it won't have returned a damn dime. And in the meantime, Jay Morrison will have fleeced dozens, hundreds, thousands of how many of the people he got to invest in it. And then he'll probably just disappear, go on about his life. And then also, if we keep allowing it, or if enough black people are foolish enough to listen to him, he'll also have hooked in a whole bunch of black people into his nationality scam. And that's the last thing I want to discuss. He's talking about we're going to go have this plebiscite and this vote. We don't need that, dude. That's complete nonsense. That's a complete trick bag to get to, again, make Jay the leader, to put him in the forefront of a reparations movement, so he can direct us into a bunch of nonsense. We don't need no vote on this. We already got this under control. We don't need no vote. We don't need no plebiscite to vote on our nationality or our title. The ADLS movement has already gotten Democrat candidates to bow down and at least to have to pretend that they support reparations. And don't give me Cobra, because if Cobra was so effective, they would have had Barack Obama pretending that he supported reparations. Instead, Barack Obama was able to get away with outright saying, no, I don't support reparations. So I don't want to hear about Cobra. Cobra ain't done nothing. They're not responsible for this current reparations energy. That's all the Democrats have to at least pretend that they support HR 40 and all this other stuff. That's not in Cobra's work, because if it was in Cobra's work, they would have had Bush supporting reparations. They would have had Barack Obama supporting reparations. They would have had John Kerry supporting reparations. They would have had all the Democrats supporting reparations or pretending to support reparations. There's no way Barack Obama would have been able to get elected if Cobra was effective, saying that he was against reparations. There was no way he would have been able to get elected if Cobra was remotely effective. So I don't want to hear about Cobra and their scam babble about World Court and how they've been around for 80 years and 60 years and all this stuff. They're completely and totally ineffective. The last thing I want to talk about too, one last thing is Joyce Watkins, please stop trying to create a beef between Tariq Nasheed and Jay Morrison. Tariq already said his piece on Jay Morrison. It's not a beef. They're not going back and forth. Stop sticking your nose in, talking about everybody got an opinion, because everyone you've beefed with, they weren't allowed to just have an opinion. You went in on Yvette Carnell. You went in on Umar Johnson. They weren't allowed to just have an opinion. So I don't want to hear this, it's just an opinion. No, it's not just an opinion when you're coming out talking against reparations and interfering with what we're trying to do and putting out trick bags and misdirections that lead into scams. That's a problem, and it deserves to be called out. But we don't need people like Joyce Watkins getting in the middle, being a gossip girl, talking about why are Jay Morrison and Tariq Nasheed beefing. Dude, just be quiet, go away. This is obviously not your arena either, because you don't know what you're talking about, and you're just doing gossip girl stuff, talking about Tariq and Jay Morrison and trying to fabricate a beef that isn't there. It's not there. But anyway, I digress, fam. That's another video. Like, share, subscribe. Peace.